welcome back to another video. Still Wednesday the February 4th. It's about 1:45. I still brain fogged a bit, trying to keep my composure. You know, if you haven't watched it, I don't know that. I wish I don't know the title of it. One of my earlier videos, my first couple videos, somewhere in the first. I think it's within the first 5, somewhere in there or something. I don't know what I titled it, but this guy named Gregory is a homeless guy. Never met him before in my life until that day. I was in my camper. I was scared about how I was going to survive. And God told me not to worry, He would provide, just like it says in the Bible, you know. And I was telling God, well, I was in my camper, I had my one shade rolled down on the side where I sleep. The driver's side shade was up so I could see out that a little bit. And I'd seen Gregory, who I'd never met before, in the distance, walking by Arby's, and then he disappeared out of my window view. And I was talking to God about how I ran out of money. And winter was coming. And I hadn't found work yet. You know, and I was scared how I was going to survive. I got a diesel heater and stuff, and I got a buddy heater for backup. I got to get the propane furnace in this camper fixed yet. It's just something simple, a thermocouple or a fan sensor or something. But because it did work fine. Anyway, oh, there's a bird. So turn that heat away from me too hot. I don't want to shut it off either because it keeps it warm in here. So I was literally, I'm trying to tell the story probably different than I am now because I'm driving. I wasn't, when I told it the first time. First few videos I made, I did sit down at the booth back there. I found out it's a little easier for me to film while I'm driving, so I don't think about the camera as much, even though I know I'm talking and I know I'm filming. I don't freeze up as much or something. So I was literally crying to God about being scared. You know, that God, I'm out of money. Winter's coming, you know. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I instantly felt God telling me, don't worry, I will provide. And He'd already told me in the past, prior to that, you know, part of my problem was pride and that I needed to learn how to accept help, you know. And then He said He was going to send me someone to help kind of like as a test, as how I felt about it. And I had to learn, because I had to learn how to accept help, and how I handled that would determine something or something. I don't know how, I didn't quite get that, but that's how I felt about it anyway. And here I am in my camper, crying to God, scared, not knowing how I'm going to get through the winter's coming. I'm out of money, I ain't found work yet, you know. I don't know if what am I supposed to do. And I could instantly feel God saying, I told you I'd provide. And I said to Him, I said, I know you say you provide, but, you know, I'm a human being. And I can't help but be nervous and scared. And I kid you not, right while I was saying that, I get this knock on the side of my camper. It's on the passenger side, but I can't reach that right now. And I pull up my shade, wipe my eyes, and pull up my shade, slide the window open, and here it is, Gregory, the homeless guy I'd seen walking. And I, not to label him, but I just felt like he was a homeless guy. And he was. He's a really good man. There's nothing wrong with being homeless. You know, I mean, that's not a good situation. You understand what I'm saying? You know, I ain't picking on. They consider me homeless, even though I got my camper, my work for me. But he come knocking at that door, window on a wall. I opened my window. Right, well, I was just crying to God about it. Him saying he's going to provide. I opened my window, and my screen slide's open too, so I slid that open. I leaned out over the window. I said, "Hey, how's it going?" I put on my good happy face. And he says to me, "I came to give you money." And I was in shock. I went numb. I was just within a couple seconds, I was just talking to God about, crying about, I know you say you provide, but I'm scared. And then I got that knock, and I open up, and he says, "I came to give you money." I never seen him before in my life. So my instinct, because of my pride, and that I should do for myself, I can do what I can do. My instinct, he started pulling like a $5 bill out to hand me, and I started saying, "No." And then I remembered what God told me, that he was going to send somebody, he was going to send help, and I had to learn how to accept help, and it depended on how I handled it. Well, then right as I was saying no, I remembered what God told me. So I said, well, all right. And in the process of that, while I was saying no, and switched to well, okay, he was adamant. He started putting his $5 bill back in as well. And he said, well, here's what I'm going to do. And he was like, I says, what I'm going to do, not yes or no to you. He was telling me he's doing it. And he hands me takes out two $1 bills, and he hands me two $1 bills. He said, "Here, take those." And I take two $1 bills. And at the time, I wasn't totally out of money. I think at the time I still had about $100, but I was scared because I knew winter was coming. And this beast takes so much gas. So, which was another part of probably why I was like, no, because I figured I probably had more money than him. But I did remember God saying I needed to learn how to accept help. So he hands me this $2. He says, "Here, now take this $2. So I took the $2. And he said, "Just a minute." And he pulls out two Lucky Strike cigarettes. And I tell him, and he hands me two Lucky Strike cigarettes. And he goes, "Here's two cigarettes." And I said, well, I quit smoking about 2 years ago. He said, "They ain't for you to smoke." He says, "What you're going to do is you're going to sell these two cigarettes for $1. And he said, "And then you're going to have $3. And I just said, okay. And I ended up set it all on the table right across from me, and I kept talking to him, I had to shut him up, right? So we just started BS, and he told me, he says, "I wanted to give you more money." And I could see in his wallet, when he put his $5 back in, I think he had a 20, a 10, and a 5, so he still had probably about $35 left. And that's none of my business anyway, but that's what I seen, And because I'm above him while he's at my window, while he's came to help me, It's just and like I said, I was all very euphoric. I was just in awe. And then he started talking to me about so I really want to give you more. He says, "But I got to get some socks." And then he started telling me all about socks and the good kind of socks to get. I don't remember what kind of socks he told me to get, but he told me which ones that they're thicker, stronger, whatever. And that's because he does a lot of walking, so he wears his socks out. So he knows the good socks to get, that they're going to last longer and be tougher and stuff, whatever, and more comfortable, whatever. And but the thing is because I was so in this dreamland of everything that was just happening, I couldn't even believe it. I can't remember the socks he was talking about, but I remember him talking about socks and stuff. And we talked about a few other different things, for a bit. And then he finished the cigarette he was smoking. He said, "I got to get going," because he had to go get his socks. I was in the Walmart parking lot. And so, well, thanks, Greg. I got his name and stuff, and I shook his hand. I said, "Well, thank you, Gregory. God bless you, And he walks away, and I closed my window, pulled the shade down, and started bawling. And I said, "Okay, I hear you, Lord." Now, that $2, and it's two cigarettes, I ain't saving my life, but the thing is, well, it was kind of, depends on how you look at it, but it was the point. God said he'd send me help, and he did instantly. Instantly. It's just mind-blowing. And there's a story tied into that I won't get into right now. I'll tell it another time. And the two cigarettes, I ended up selling them to a guy who's my friend now for $1, because the tobacco stores had closed, and of course smokers, they nick out, and we wanted to have some cigarettes, and he knew. I told him my story about, because as I'm sharing God with people and stuff, I told him my story about Gregory, you know, and the 2 cigarettes, and he said, "Hey," he says, and he turns out he had a similar type of God-related story with that same guy. Prior, he had met Gregory before me when he was working at a different place, and so he knew about that I had those 2 cigarettes. So he said, "Hey, those 2 cigarettes you got?" He says, "Can I get them?" I said, "Well, yeah, but they're going to cost you $1," because he knew the story. He said, "Well, of course." He said, I wasn't expecting anything different. So he gave me $1 and I gave him those 2 cigarettes. So I got my $3. Matter of fact, I still have that $3 in that Ziploc bag up there. I'm pretty sure I do. I didn't spend it because that was an important thing for me. So I guess I wasn't broke. But I don't know if I could spend those $3. You know? Because of the story attached to them. You know? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't spend those $3. I'm almost positive they're up there in the Ziploc bag. God, if I spent them, I did it while I was really in a tough time or something. Because I don't think I did. They got to be up there. I know it is. I know they're up there. I just forgot about them. Maybe my brain purposely forgot about them so I wouldn't spend them. So yeah, it's just another moment of. I forgot to start this. People passing me here. I'm on 45 and a 55. So anyway, there's that little sneaky word on me again. Thanks for watching again, and God bless you. And we'll see you on the next one.